please keep your microphones muted when not speaking to the committee. First of all, we're going to start off with we'll now have the floor open for public comments. If anyone wishes to speak, please raise your hand by clicking the reactions button in the meeting toolbar and selecting raise hand icon. All right, at this time I see none. And then we're going to start off with design guidelines for corridor compatible communities, presented by Ashley Turner, Rebecca Bradley, and with Cadence. It's up to you guys to start.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you all virtually. My name is Rebecca Bradley. I am the founding principal of Cadence. We are a landscape architecture firm located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We have been working for the past 2 years very intensively with the Florida Wildlife Corridor Foundation, helping co-author and lead the facilitation of these design guidelines that we're going to share with you all today. We began our relationship with the foundation back in 2019-18 with a board seat, volunteering, working on committee work, and have transformed into this role with them. Today, I am speaking on behalf of a lot of humans that put their heart and soul into these CCCs. So I'm privileged to be able to share these with you all. I am going to share my screen and just make sure that this comes into full view for you all. Hold on just a second. Let's see. All right. Did that go full screen for you all? Are you able to see this?
You're good, Rebecca.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so good morning. We've got about 15 minutes. I think I'm going to take you all through this process. Some of you may be familiar that this document was launched in June. Again, this is an effort that was being overseen by the Florida Wildlife Corridor Foundation. And I know you are all familiar with what the corridor is. It is the 18 million acre footprint of connected land and water we have in this state. It's representing our best opportunity to safeguard the biodiversity and sustainable wild Florida that we all want for future generations to be able to enjoy. The guidelines were really born out of this wonderful setting that the foundation has set up with their Corridor Connect Summit. Maybe some of you have attended this. I believe they just had their third one. We attended the first one, and that was back in 2022, I believe. And from some of those breakout sessions that they had at the first summit, this idea of kind of a seminal document that was a singular point people in our state could all go to see what we could do in the realm of best practices and design guidelines when we find that we are trying to have compatible development next to our corridor. So that was a brainstorming session in 2022. That transferred into the next summit, having a fully organized session at one of their solution labs where during this session about 65 people gathered in the room and began to co-author this guidelines that you're now going to see today. So it's really important for us to step back and share how much work and the amount of folks that came together from all over our state to share their insights. Folks from agencies, land use attorneys, developers, planners, landscape architects, scientists, conservationists. This has been really an interesting and wonderful experience for the humans. Also in this process, remembering that when we are connected and when we do things together face to face, we can accomplish some of the greater things we need to happen for connectivity for our wildlife neighbors. So I wanted to share some of these photographs with you just to show you some of the process. After the second Corridor Connect summit, technical advisory committees were put in place, and Cadence and TNC led, I believe, over 5 different technical advisory committees that were broken down in different subsets. So we had government policy professionals, we had engineers, landscape architects, and planners, we had conservation groups, we had groups working in the realm of community engagement and equitable access, conservation groups, developers was one whole session. So all of these different groups began to review different drafts and forms of these guidelines. And over 18 months, we would revise and retool the language based on what we were hearing in live time from the different folks around the state that were reviewing this. So what you're seeing today is not only great in content, but we worked really hard with also the graphic design of the document, understanding that people are more inspired and able to digest things that they can see in clarity. We tried to make sure that they're great examples of the wildlife and the beautiful spaces we have in our state intermixed into this with photography, so that this isn't just a document that is reading like a science document or something that we often see in the planning world that is only data. We're trying to make sure, it was our goal, and we were challenged to make sure that this is a document that will be utilized, that will not just sit on a shelf. I know we hear that all the time, but that is really what we're hoping this document can be.
Rebecca, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the screen's not changing for us. It's still on the cover image. I just want to make sure everyone's seeing the document as you're going through.
It's saying that something paused my screen sharing. I'm so sorry, y'all. Is there something coming through on the host's end?
No, you might want to just try resharing then.
Okay, let's try again.
And try sharing the whole screen rather than just Adobe.
I am on full screen.
Okay.
So that must, let's see. Sorry, guys.
Okay, now we can see it.
Is
There
it
we
full
are.
screen?
Yes.
I'm so sorry about that. So let me go back just a few real quick. I'll let you guys see all the people that were working on this that I mentioned. So this is some of those slides. All right. And then I was at this point. Are you all seeing the IBIS on the screen? Okay, yay. Thank you. All right. So what was really important as well is that this document and the group of folks that work on this understand that we're standing on the shoulders of a great legacy of conservation in our state. Many organizations and folks for decades have been working on conservation in this state. And we really are an example to other states in our country. So that was the first kind of lens that we had on this, making sure that we are not trying to say this is some new document that some of the information in it has never appeared before. What we're trying to do is create a document that coalesces all the great work that has been done in our state and give us one place to all go to now as a starting point for compatible development. At the beginning of the document, right now I'm giving you a sneak peek inside of this document. It is many, many pages. I am not going to take you through each and every page, but I wanted to take you through the step 1, step 2, and step 3 that's at the front of our document before you dive into studying the qualities of a compatible community. And the very first one I mentioned is that we have a hard-earned conservation practices. This is the springboard for our future. And there have been decades of research and work. And we are basing that on the Florida Ecological Greenways network that was established back in 1991. And that is the backbone, as we all know, of the Florida Wildlife Corridor. So we are looking at that as our basis. Step 2, we're understanding that years and years of research and science-based landscape ecology principles show us that saving functional natural landscapes is what will make for the ability to execute responsible design spaces for the humans that are going to keep coming to our state. So this is really important that we lay this out at the beginning. And then step 3 is really where our technical committee began to say, now this is what's different. We need to make sure before we say that you are designing a corridor compatible community, it must be in the right location, and you must have the right team to endeavor into using these design guidelines. Because as we know, there are some spaces that are so critical, they are not the right location for development, no matter how compatible, because we will have lost something that cannot be replaced. So this is really one of the new pieces of this document, and it takes you through saying, as a team, if you're diving into this as a planner, engineer, development team person, this is the front end of what you need to do, the mapping that you should be going through to assess and analyze. If you have truly a development that can be compatible. This is also the place if you're an agency or an organization that's reviewing plans that have come forward. This tells you how to go do some back end work and look and see if they are doing something in the right location or with the right team. And the right team is so important. We went back and forth with some of our technical advisory committees. You know, some folks saying, well, of course they're going to have a landscape architect, and of course they're going to have environmental professionals and conservationists and do the right outreach. And it's, you know, we found in our studies that yes, there are some developers working at that elite level, but as we know, there's plenty of things happening in our state where collaborative teams from the beginning are not in place, and this is what is often leading to projects and products that underserve compatibility. Are my slides still moving? I'm just double checking as I'm rambling along. Okay, so the goal, of course, here is to save and protect biodiversity, resilience, and connection in our state. These are not new words. But this is the clarity that this document is trying to remind, that design guidelines will employ evidence-based system of qualities and guidelines to make sure that our biodiversity, resilience, and connection is being achieved when we look for excellent land development strategies, and that this is possible. Okay. So now we're diving into, this is a summary. We're now outside the document. The document looks slightly different than this, but I'm trying to give you bullet points. The first category that you'll dive into when you look in the design guidelines is starting at the beginning, site planning and design. What are the qualities that we would like to see people and projects working through? So number 1 is designing with nature. Thinking about all the systems that overlay, not trying to destroy to then start over. Or is the project doing the best to read the land, listen to the land, and design from there? Secondly, is this coexisting with the corridor? The next is the project looking and endeavoring into innovative and equitable engagement? Are there connectivity points between conservation lands? Has there been something set up for community landscape standards once the community comes to life? Is there a component of metrics and data collection partnerships happening inside the project? The next category that the projects move into and look through is reducing impacts on infrastructure. So are there roadway impacts on wildlife, and what are they? Reducing water quality impacts. These are all also really important things to look into. The third category, and as you're looking through these, I know you're all thinking, well, we see these things in best practices all the time. We know there are a lot of repetitive things that we have seen in other documents, but the point here is that we are making this one place for us to all go. And inside each of these qualities, you'll see in a moment, we have resources that point to documents that may already exist that we're using in the planning world, in the conservation world, in the development world. And you'll see that we're building upon those things and reminding people to reference back to those. So as we move through the category number 3, biodiversity and ecological improvements, we're looking at qualities for native habitat creation. Is that happening in the project? What are they doing for habitat restoration possibly and management? What kind of plant communities are being created? And then buffers and minimizing edge effects. The last category inside the design guidelines at category 4 is community access, culture, and education. This is really a component of these design guidelines that the technical committee members felt like, and what we were hearing in a lot of things is often missing inside of these, and that's the human component. Once these places become real places off of drawings, now they've been built and the humans are now living there, what things can we think ahead and do to make the human component of the project compatible? So in this particular category, we have 3 qualities that were developed and reviewed. One is communication of wildlife connectivity, passive recreation, trails, and other amenities that where human existence is appropriate, in either corridor land or in new buffer areas that are created inside of this new project. And then lastly is instilling corridor stewardship. So with that being the last quality that I took you through, I'm going to let you have a peek now inside what each of these qualities look like inside of the document. So every single one is broken down in this way. You're given an overall arching quality, big topic, instilling corridor stewardship. An intent is then shared for this particular one. It's to foster a culture of biodiversity stewardship that resonates with residents, new and old, and exists across generations and cultures. I know that's a big picture idea, but what all the groups thought was really important is that we're really thinking ahead with this document. What are the things we haven't done in the past? Are these things that we can begin to work into the culture of human development as it continues to happen in our state? And I think we often know that what happens is a lot of times we have people migrating from other regions and other states that come to our beautiful state, and they are not aware of the nature that is here, of the wildlife. And often they are purchasing properties in places that are wild spaces. So how do we work into these development communities some sort of way to communicate and instill in the human that is going to be living there an ownership and a stewardship for caring for the land? So that's what this particular quality is about. And it speaks to those things specifically through a description. It also offers design strategies. So this may seem, to someone that may be reviewing this, I don't quite know what you mean about instilling corridor stewardship. And some of the other qualities may also seem that way when someone's reviewing it. So this document is giving pointers, design strategies, and big ticket ideas to generate the team that's looking at this, who might still be developing and designing it, or it's informing the agency or the organization that is reviewing to see, hey, is this development doing some of these things? Here's some things we could offer that they maybe should consider. So those things are inside this document for every single quality, not just the one I'm showing you now. The last 3 sections that you'll see for every single quality is a requirement saying here's a checklist or a recipe of some of the things that you should do. Then you have to provide supporting evidence that you have done that, right? The supporting evidence is really there for version 2. You're looking at version 1 of this. This is a beta version that is still out there as a version where we're trying to get people's input. We're going to be doing some pilot programs. The supporting evidence category is there for if and when we're able to tick this document into something that truly becomes a ranking and a credit system. So that's what that's built in there for. And we're over the next year going to, and we are in the process of starting that, doing a pilot program up in Volusia County with a developer, and the entities working on that project there, to run this live time on a project and see how viable is this? Are the things we're putting here really going to churn out a compatible development? Are there ways around things that we didn't mean to write something a certain way? So that is something the Corridor Foundation is endeavoring in right now. There's also talks to speak with some communities that have been built for several years, to see, now that the humans are living there and the community is bustling, what sort of things are happening with human wildlife conflict? How is the design of the space, the restoration that may have been done, the creation of new habitat, how is all of that performing? So those are the two ways in which these design guidelines over the next 8 to 12 months are being tested. So that's really where this the project is right now. The design guidelines are live, as everybody knows. I'm sharing them here with you today. We hope you will download them if you have not yet. We are taking in feedback over this next year to make sure that when we put version 2 out, we have caught things that people have brought to our attention, and to get as much feedback as we possibly can. I have a screen up right now just with to show the wide variety of folks that have volunteered and dedicated their time to these design guidelines so far. And some of you on this call may actually be on this list. So we appreciate all the input that folks have given. And, you know, it is the hope that this is a guideline that, you know, every 12 to 18 months, we know the speed at which things change. This is a version that would get updated so that we are always making it as digestible as possible to make sure people are using it, that we're course correcting if things aren't working. Maybe there's something we didn't remember. So that is really important to share with you all, that is how the foundation is hoping that this document will continue to live and be utilized for the highest impact possible. So now is your call to action. If you have not downloaded this, please do. You can go to corridorconnect.org. If you click on the Summit 2025 tab when you make it to Corridor Connect, you just scroll down. I think it's the last selection on that tab, and it's Corridor Compatible Communities Design Guidelines, and you can download it there. We would love for you to share your feedback with us. I believe there's questionnaire link once you download it. You can also reach us directly, where we'd be happy to hear back from anyone. Please also share this with 2 or 3 folks that aren't on this call today, or organizations you think should know about this. That is our other ask of everyone on the call today. So with that, I will open it up to questions or small discussion. I know you guys have plenty of other things on your agenda today, but that's a sneak peek at the document, and we look forward to hearing from you and hope you all have a moment to check it out for yourself. All right, I think I've turned it back over. Alana, Diego.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah, no problem.
Diego, want to take over? Are there any questions?
Sure, yeah. Does anyone have any questions? No? Rebecca, quick question. I'm gonna look at the design guidelines. I'm in the process of downloading it. Are you guys looking at of a way ahead of maybe making it more of like a method of credentialing future projects?
That's right. That is the idea. When we started in the very beginning. I'm sure you're familiar with like the wedge design guidelines, and obviously we have LEED certification, all these things that are out there. That indeed was the first thought. We still are hoping that that is probably where this is going to go. And, you know, the thought is for it to not just credential projects, but a way in which professionals could credential themselves, level up their education on this, begin to show that those of us that work in the planning, engineering fields could be certified as a professional that understands corridor compatibility. So there's kind of two tracks there. And yes, that is, I believe, the ultimate goal. But it was really important. We all just felt like we have to, you know, test through this and see what happens in a real life scenario. And then that will make it even stronger, I think, when a version 2 comes out. And then we can say to the general public, all right, let's try to all get credentialed. Let's see how we can utilize this on projects. So yes, the answer to that is yes. That is the eventual hope.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then follow-on question 2 is, I know that you guys just developed it and published it not too long ago, but have you, through the development of it, have you guys implemented in projects across the state thus far, or is it still in its infancy?
It's still in its infancy. Kind of two answers to that is, you know, we've been tracking to see how many people download it, it's moving all around the state. You know, it's neat to see that it's not just one particular place, not just one type of organization. So that's been neat to see. It has gone on basically a road show since June. We've been at APA, we've been at ASLA, you know, state chapters, Florida Floodplain Manager state chapters. It's being presented at different universities for students, these sort of committee meetings. And yes, you know, the test of it is going to start towards the end of this year in Volusia County with a real project that is moving through planning and design. It's been approved. And so we'll dive in with their team and they'll submit and show, they'll run through the qualities and they'll start to we'll begin to score and see, okay, you said you did this, this, this in each quality, and we'll begin to have a back and forth conversation live time as that developer and those municipalities and those agencies are trying to bring this project on board. So that's going to be really telling. So that's what's happening. That's the project, the one project that is about to, you know, be our official pilot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. I don't have any more questions.
There was one question in the comments here from Taylor. It says, are there opportunities to educate municipalities, elected officials approving new development to reference this to the real estate communities trying to get approvals?
Of course, there's that opportunity. You know, we, as I mentioned, Taylor, have been on a tour. There's a variety of us that have been attending different conferences. We're happy, just like we were. Kelly set us up suggested that we meet with this group. And it's not Kelly, Carrie. And, you know, so we can give these presentations. Obviously, once you download it, you can share it with different entities. So just let us know, you know, if that's a presentation that you'd like to get put together. That's really our purpose right now with the core team that's working on this, is the awareness and getting this out in as many hands as possible and in front of as many eyes. I hope that answers that question.
I have a question. Have you thought about translating this into policy language that could then be adopted into like local ordinances?
Yes, I thought you were going to say translated into Spanish, and I was going to say, yes, we actually are thinking about that when you started with
That too.
yes, with translation. And that's a big, translation is a big discussion, dual languages in community engagement and a lot of the wildlife signage and communication of stewardship. You'll find that written inside the document. But translating this into policy language and ordinance, yes, that has been a big discussion. That you'll see at the back end of the document, there are several exhibits. And one goal was to possibly have a mock-up ordinance language written so that people could utilize that draft material, look at. We know that we've had already 2 different consultants contact us that are working for different counties that are utilizing this. They're translating it into their own policy language. But that is on the long-term to-do list, is to possibly see what kind of ordinance language. I do want to say that, one thing that has come out of this often in the discussion is that I think we can all see lately politically, when we push on things, ordinance, regulations, those things are getting bounced back. The whole thought of this is also hoping that there will be just a groundswell of professionals that will be the stewards and the speakers of this language. And we understand the developer often has the final decision about what his or her team is doing, how the consultants are designing and planning. But this really is something we're hoping that we get in enough hands of enough different people that there's a lot of levers pushing this, not just an ordinance lever, not just a regulation lever, but that there's enough language and great example built inside of this that professionals and agencies can begin to have actual suggestions for making it better, not just we don't like this or it's not compatible. This is actually giving pure suggestions on how to make it compatible. So we really are hoping that's another way that this can be helpful and successful to everyone who's, working towards compatibility and the right kind of growth for our state.
That's great. I have one other question.
Mhm.
There's a lot of great guidelines within this document, such as preserving a certain percentage of, a site to be developed, or, 85% of it, a site using native plants, and so many more. If you had to recommend one design guideline, or sort of what would that one guideline be that you would say is the most important for people to take away from this?
I think that's a really tough answer to give because of what step 3 talks about, and that's the location. Every location is carrying a different critical habitat or not a critical habitat, so the location is so important. And that location, if you gave me maybe a one location, maybe I could say this, but really the whole point of this is that it's a myriad of things that make compatibility. There is not a silver bullet to compatibility. Like, I'm going to just do this one thing and then that's going to be compatible. I think these guidelines reiterate over and over again how connected all the natural systems are, how connected what humans do are, and that you do actually have to look at the whole picture. And that is what's so complicated, and that is often why it's not done. But we're hoping this is laying it out in a way that people can begin to digest and try to achieve.
You made me think of one other, if that's okay, Diego.
Yeah.
So we have some people on this call that might be in communities that are not directly connected to the wildlife corridor. Do you still see this as a useful document for them? And I guess what would your recommendations be for those that are in, say, like Pinellas County, that's just it's dense and, not a part of the corridor necessarily?
That's a great question. And I will let you know that on almost every call we've been on, that question comes up because plenty of our state is overdeveloped. I mean, we live in Fort Lauderdale. I'm in the concrete jungle down here. But what our practice does, and this one I can tell you, there is probably one guideline that you could, every homeowner, every property, if they're looking at their property as a piece of the natural system and planting with Florida native plants and creating habitat, not just decorating their home with landscape, removing sod, that is a huge impact in our state because of all the single family homes, even in urban settings where, our yards aren't as big. The microscapes we can create inside urban settings is key and is important. We can rewild urbanity, and we can also be compatible in our rural and natural areas. And we really do need both of those things in our state. So that's the answer to that one. And absolutely, there are plenty of things inside this document for urban communities to utilize, for HOAs to think about, even if you're just building, a new property or renovating a place that's in an urban habitat. There are plenty of guidelines that are more than helpful, that will contribute to something positive for our environment. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for presenting today. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you all for your time this morning. I hope you have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Our next presentation will be by Charles Hines. He is presenting on the Florida Gulf Coast Trail.
Okay, great. Hey, good morning, everyone. I think I'm just going to start and kick this off with a big overview of the Florida Gulf Coast Trail, where things stand as I see it. You guys are experts in this and involved in it. So if I say something that's, maybe you disagree with, or we can discuss that as we go along. But I work with the Trust for Public Land, and we've been very involved in rail corridor acquisitions to turn those into trails. And we were involved in Sarasota County to create the Legacy Trail, which was a rail corridor acquisition and is part of the Florida Gulf Coast Trail. With the success of that acquisition, Trust for Public Land said, we really feel that there's space in Southwest Florida to be here every day to help accelerate and promote the completion of the Florida Gulf Coast Trail. And so a program was created a couple years ago, and I was hired and kind of went to work. And so I kind of started just exploring, what do people know about the Florida Gulf Coast Trail? And what I found out is the public generally did not know much about the Florida Gulf Coast Trail. County staff, city staff, oh yeah, we know about it, but most people just knew the local trails in their community. So obviously we know the Pinellas Trail, and the Knights Trail, and the Courtney Campbell, and the Riverwalk, and those types of things. But those are all connected up, hopefully one day, to be part of a much larger system. And so kind of went to work on creating that awareness. We created a logo. I think some of you on this call were involved in creating the logo for the Florida Gulf Coast Trail, so you had a visual recognition. Now that logo is now on the trail. Thanks to Sarasota County, they have put that on the Legacy Trail that says this is part of the Florida Gulf Coast Trail. So for you all on the call that work with the counties and the cities, I'd sure wish you'd talk to me, because that can be put up in places very inexpensively, and we just follow the model of Sarasota County and put it on an existing marker. We also created the Florida Gulf Coast Trail Alliance, which several of you on this call are part of. And we have a meeting tomorrow where it's kind of like this. We get together once a quarter and kind of give each other updates of what's happening on this trail that goes from Tampa, St. Pete, all the way down to Naples. So there's a lot of things going on. I know Sally's going to be on our speaker tomorrow, talk about Howard Franklin and those types of things. So we get this broader vision of this trail. And then, so what I'll say is the good news is our brand recognition is increasing. And with the several projects that are going on in the trail or on the trail itself, which, take the Howard Franklin and the overpass at the Courtney Campbell, the momentum is growing so that the public sees the benefit of investing in these trails. And a partner like FDOT understanding safety and how bad Southwest Florida is when it comes to bike and pedestrian safety. They're willing to invest in overpasses and those types of things. Just opened up 2 new ones in Sarasota County a couple months ago. And then obviously the very visual one on the Pinellas side of the Courtney Campbell. So things are going well, and having us in these types of conversations help, because the more people know about the benefits that the big trail can bring, safety, access to the outdoors, economic redevelopment, those types of things, tourism. And I'm not going to take Sally's thunder, but when you think about the loop of the Courtney Campbell and the Howard Franklin and close those 2 little gaps, man, you talk about Visit Florida selling something and everything to say, come here and cross that bay twice, and marathons and just everything. So if you all have any interest in coming to the Alliance meeting, we just do it by Zoom or Teams. So just email me and I can get you and forward you that list. And I'd love your all's input. And I don't know, Alana, did you have the video or can you show it? Or if not, one of the things Trust for Public Land's doing is investing in public knowledge. We created a video about the Florida Gulf Coast Trail. You can just, guys, go, I know I'm talking long. We can go on YouTube and check it out. And trying to get everyone to recognize the value that this will bring to our region and our whole state. So I'll end with that.
Sorry, I don't have that video.
Oh, that's okay. I
If
thought
you
I
give me a
forwarded
link,
it.
we
No
can
big deal.
share.
Please just go Florida Gulf Coast Trail YouTube, and it's a good 2-minute video, and love you all to have it. And if someone says, what's this Florida Gulf Coast Trail? And rather than me talk for 5 minutes, just say, hey, watch this. And you learn about it, and it can share it. And so Sally, I hope that's okay. I think that was my
That's fine. I think next we want to have Wade, do you want to go next and do the Tampa side, and then the St. Pete side will be, who is it from the St. Pete side? Chelsea?
I think Chelsea, yeah.
Okay.
Sure, I'll go ahead and share real quick. 1 second. Are you all able to see that?
Not yet. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, great. This was shared just a couple of weeks ago by FDOT, the updated connections from the Howard Franklin Bridge through what is going to be an updated West Shore interchange, and then working our way through the city of Tampa. And I have a couple of other maps that I'll get into with the Gulf Coast Trail and how that all connects up through Southern Hillsborough County. But FDOT has done a lot of looking at, by the way, are the slides changing? Are you able to see?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
You're not in full screen though, Wade.
Oh, here, let me see if I can do that. Is that better?
Yes.
Great. So as you see the yellow coming in here from the Howard Franklin Bridge on the lower left side of the screen, that purple connection that it leads up to is called Rio Street. That will now go all the way across 275. Currently it dead ends on either side of it, and comes north to Cypress Point Park, this green area here. Cypress Point Park, in turn, is the current terminus for the Courtney Campbell Causeway Trail. This is the U path. U stands for utilities. That is a utility access facility that goes through there that is also used as a trail and comes down along Highway 60 to Cypress and, well, the dead end of Cypress as you get west to the bay there. Coming from there, and I have some zoomed in slides, but I'll just give you an overview. We work our way on the north side of 275 through the West Shore Mall area. And then, again, these purple north-south lines will be new streets going under 275. I believe that's Trask and Occident right there. And then we come to existing portions of trail in green. We are looking to do an overpass at Dale Mabry. We did a study several years ago, the TPO did. And FDOT has assured us that with the construction of the adjacent segments of interstates for the Tampa Bay Next Interstate program, that they will conduct the adjacent segments of trail and overpasses. Unfortunately, in the work program that is currently under review, they have pushed those out beyond the 5-year work program. So we're looking for that, more or less this purple portion of the interstate to be constructed past 2030. These are some, again, getting into some existing small portions of the I-275 Greenway here. And then we have the last segments coming into downtown, and where you hit the, this is Julian B. Lane Park, and this green line, oh, excuse me. This green line is the Riverwalk. This green line is the Green Spine Trail, which is actually complete a little bit further north than they show here. But it is a two-way cycle track protected from traffic on Cass Street at this location, going to Nuccio Parkway here, but also connecting up with the Riverwalk, which will take you around downtown with a couple of different options in there, the Selman Greenway, the Jackson Street cycle track. And then we have a gap that will ultimately be filled by the Selman Greenway. And then we work our way over to the Maydell Bridge, which is right here. I may need to switch presentations for that, but let me just go through a little bit more detail on the Howard Franklin Bridge and how that works out first. You can see the shared use path here and some scenic overlooks. This would be looking towards St. Petersburg from Tampa. And then this is the overview. As I mentioned before, Rio Street right here will be connected across. And then we have Cypress Point Park here, the U path coming along from the Hyatt Hotel there and into that connection. Also some examples of those scenic overlooks, of which there will be 4. Existing construction photos, they're really making a lot of progress coming along here with the bridge being open. I believe we're looking at later next year for the trail to be open. Some examples of the overlooks and street furniture going in. And then just an example of how it comes around that existing bridge here. This is the shared use path along the seawall as it comes into Tampa. And then here are the connections that we were going through in a little bit broader view. The pink is the existing trail coming in from the Cordy Campbell Causeway. This is Rio Street. As you can see, as it's reconstructed, it will go over the interstate, I believe, at that location. I think we have another slide for that. And then I thought I had seen a different updated graphic of this, but excuse me. The sidewalk and shared use path connections coming through here. And then the main trail will go along Cypress Street. This is existing, come down the frontage roadway. FDOT is still showing a gap in the trail along Lemon Street here. They are proposing a neighborhood greenway or shared lane markings through this segment. We continue to request a full trail along this important Sun Trail corridor. So that request is on the record with them, and we hope that they'll be able to accommodate it. As we come through this segment coming up to Occident Street, we have choices both to get under the interstate and come across to the existing trail on the south side, or to use or to keep coming up to West Shore, where you can then cross and then creating more neighborhood connectivity as well with the new Trask underpass on the other side. Gray Street is an existing neighborhood greenway that the city of Tampa has brought online over the last couple of years. And it provides pretty good connectivity almost all the way to downtown. Well, it provides good connectivity until you get to the green spine, which I described earlier. So this is the proposed route of the Gulf Coast Trail. Again, that shared lane marking section here on Lemon Street, and the rest of it being trail. These are just some of the graphics from Rio Street. So this trail will go over the interstate here to connect to Kennedy Boulevard for some of those and the other neighborhoods to the south. And then here is a graphic of that from FDOT. Just a couple of more slides. I think this opportunity area refers largely to development opportunities. And then here is the trail facility as it is envisioned in Cypress Point Park and connecting to there. This would just be the underneath actually the Veterans Expressway, how it connects to Cypress Point Park to the left, and then to the frontage road here where the trail will go to the southeast. And coming across Occident and West Shore Boulevard on the south here and connecting up to the existing trail. So those are the main points for that. If I may, let me see if I can just get this other one up. This was a trail we get. Are you able to see the SCTPA background slide here?
Yes.
Okay, great. This just shows a little more detail on the on our regional trails work. The SCTPA, the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance, is who we do our regional trail and major regional projects promotion through. Again, you can see the Gulf Coast Trail map on the right, the Howard Franklin Bridge. In Hillsborough, the Gulf Coast Trail includes the Howard Franklin, Courtney Campbell, the I-275 Greenway, the Tampa Riverwalk, the Selman Greenway, and the South Coast Greenway. So it really does connect up several of our existing trail systems that we have been working for years to integrate, really decades. And this is a really great overarching scheme for connecting our trail projects together. This is our regional trails map. We highlight those that are priorities. You can see the whole Gulf Coast Trail is a priority, both through Tampa and through Southern Hillsborough County. And as we move through here, I mentioned the Maydell Bridge, which has been reconstructed by Hillsborough County, including a trail facility. Then we come down through the South Coast Greenway phases 5, 6, and 7 to get to the Alafaya River. Then we have a couple of segments that are either existing in the Waterset community, right here, this blue piece, along College Avenue, I believe this blue piece, this is on US 301. And we're working to stitch all those together. They're all in various stages of planning, PD&E, design, or construction. So we have a lot of work going on and continue to try and tee those projects up for either SunTrail funding, transportation alternative funding, or any other sources that we can find out there. We did, just as this Big Bend overpass, we got about $11 million, 10 to 11 million from SunTrail for that overpass. It is a pretty major location connecting the existing trail at Watersets across Big Bend Road to where there is additional new development, also a high school and middle and elementary school complex. and just basically makes for a really important connection across a newly widened Big Bend Road, which would be very hard to do at grade. So we're very thankful for that funding and looking forward to that coming online. And I won't get into Pinellas and the other counties' priorities, except to say this is the Legacy Trail through Sarasota and Manatee. You can see how through Sarasota, and then you can see how through this pink would come up through Manatee and connect into our South Coast Greenway, which is also part of the Gulf Coast Trail. So with that, I will stop and hand it off to Chelsea, if that works for you, Chelsea.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. Sorry, I'm not Kyle, but we had to play musical meetings today. So I'm going to share a map of our trail system if I can. All right. So focusing on the Gulf Coast Trail, this is a map of our Pinellas County Trail Loop. So it's not all of the trails, but just really focusing on the loop. As you all know, across the Courtney Campbell Causeway, we have a trail coming in, and there is a major overpass being built right now to connect up to the Bayshore segment that also connects over to the Pinellas Trail Loop. We're really proud of the fact that the loop is substantially complete, but there are still a few connections that are missing, primarily here in the Gateway area. These two segments are both currently under design, and construction funding has already been secured within the next 5 years. So hopefully about 5, 6, 7 years from now, this piece will all be complete. Similarly, down this spur down here on the San Martin Trail, it connects over to Weeden Island. That is currently under design as well, with construction funding in the next couple of years, so that should be complete. So the remaining two segments that we have that still need to be completed for the loop involve a stretch along Gandy Boulevard that is currently under design, but will probably be constructed with the roadway corridor as soon as FDOT allocates the funding for that. And then section 4, this is along 126th Avenue. An alignment study needs to be done here because while the trail will basically follow the roadway corridor along 126th Avenue, the corridor does run directly through the Sunshine drag strip. And so we can't really put a trail across the drag strip. So we need to do an alignment study to figure out kind of how to get around. And there is some right of way that is available in the area that can be utilized. With the Howard Franklin Bridge, our connections here in Pinellas are going to be coming off of the bridge and going down Ulmerton Road, connecting into the Gateway Employment Center, and then also coming down 4th Street, and that's going to go all the way down to Gandy. The Ulmerton and 4th Street trails are going to be under construction in this fiscal year. I actually think I saw some trucks out there turning dirt just yesterday, so they should be under construction pretty soon. And then we're going to shift to overpass priorities. We have prioritized an overpass at 4th Street and Gandy because all of these trails are coming into that one area, and we want to make sure that the bicyclists and pedestrians are going to be using it don't have to cross, 6, 7, 8 lanes of traffic in that area. So that's going to be our next big push. So we're pretty happy with the status of it, and hopefully within the next 5 years, a substantial piece of this will be done, and then we'll be able to connect over into the Howard Franklin and across into Tampa, going further down to work on the Gulf Coast Trail Loop. That's it for Pinellas, unless anyone has any questions. But thanks for letting me give you all an update today.
Chelsea, where's the Courtney Campbell? Where will that connect eventually? Maybe you said, but I didn't quite.
So the Courtney Campbell right now connects to Bayshore Boulevard that goes up into Safety Harbor. And there's a Reed Wilson Trail that connects over into the Pinellas Trail just north of the corridor. We're also working with FDOT right now to try to find another alignment along the State Road 60 corridor that's a lot more safe and comfortable than the existing sidewalks that are there. So there is some opportunity to we don't repurpose lanes. Move some things around while keeping the existing traffic capacity to provide a little bit more space for cyclists along the 60 corridor, connecting into the Pinellas Trail over by Clearwater Mall.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I guess the question now is, are there any questions? I guess not. It's kind of exciting, all this that's going on and the opportunity for these links.
It really is. And I would just say a big thank you to Charles and the Trust for Public Land, as well as the TVRPC for all of their help with our trails work. We're currently doing an economic benefits of trails study with the TVRPC, and I'm really looking forward to the results of that.
And I can't remember if Charles mentioned it, but we're talking about over 420 miles without talking about the various different side connections. I was at the groundbreaking for the West River Trail for the Riverwalk in Tampa last week, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. The Riverwalk has been very successful, and now we're going to the west side. So there's a lot of activity going on, and it's pretty exciting. It's taken a long time.
Yeah, I would just say what's, interesting, the Office of Greenway Trails, I think next year we'll have another map update. And so maybe we can start connecting up and the mileage changes. I actually don't think the Howard Franklin is on the Florida Gulf Coast Trail official map. I'm pretty sure it's not. So we'll go from 420 to 428 or whatever it is. But that's what's great about groups like this. We can keep evolving. And the role I can play if you're in county or city staff and for some reason a commissioner or somebody just doesn't get the value of investing in this infrastructure, please call me. I mean, I don't know if some of you all know this. I was a prior county commissioner in Sarasota County. Sometimes that opens a door, not always, but I can play that middle of the road or intermediary between planners and county city staff and elected officials and the private sector. So we all believe in this, and we believe in the benefits it'll bring. And we're really close to having, Pinellas. I'm jealous. When that loop's done in Pinellas, oh my God. So Hillsborough, let's get over there and get those connectors up. And like I said, I'm really happy. FDOT seems to really change their view and their value of projects like this. So this is good.
There was a question asked if there was a Friends of the Trail group. There's a Facebook page on the Florida Greenways and Trails Foundation, which posts different, whether it's Pinellas Trail or others, different opportunities, because there are a number of different friends groups. And then there's the Alliance, which Charles mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so what I found out is, friends groups that form a not-for-profit that they usually work on a specific segment, like a Riverwalk or the Legacy Trail or something like that. So in coordination with the Office of Greenways and Trails, we kind of have created this alliance, and we've had 2 meetings. Our third one's tomorrow. And I think one of the things that I'll propose for next year is that we grow it in a way not to form a not-for-profit and raise money, but for information. So that takes a website, that takes someplace where someone could go and say, I need an economic study of a value of trails. And Charles keeps talking about it. We could house that there, right? And house the logo, house the video that you can go and grab it and say, here's the information. So the Alliance is new, but I think I know it'll bring value. And the Cross Florida one, that's kind of what they did. So when it comes to advocacy and so forth, that's where we're going. So.
Charles, I did manage to find that video if you all
Okay.
Played.
I don't know how we're doing on time. I think it's 2 minutes if y'all want to watch it or share it and let people watch it on their own. But it's pretty good. So, I mean, that's, again, that's TPL private donors saying, Charles, we understand we got to brand this thing. We got to get people excited about it. And so we created this video. And we also did some influencer work recently, the last couple, 3 weeks, where people have gone out on the trail. And one lady did a great job. She went down the river walk and talked about it. So everyone's going to benefit from this. And so we're happy to provide that role.
Alana, you have a question?
Yeah, I guess my question is, when you guys are planning these trails, do you take into consideration opportunities to use them to help preserve areas as well? Is that factored into any of your decision making, like, preserving bits of land in addition to, having the trail there? I just see it as a good opportunity to kind of set aside land. I know it's a little scarce in Pinellas County, but anyway.
Well, I mean, I can speak for us. I mean, Trust for Public Land has a big land conservation side of our organization. And we also, another big thing that we do is help local governments run ballot measures that can raise funds for land protection, parks, and trails. And so, yes, the trail itself kind of has its own identity. But what I like to do, and we've done this, is sometimes that trail alignment can move. And that's where I was joking is we might do a trail realignment here in a year or so to connect up to some open space or opportunities. We talked earlier about development, and developers right now love trails. And so maybe we can connect up to there and then create some green space, create trailheads. And sometimes you get with local government properties that are land that they own, that they've surplus, that they don't know what to do with, and they're going to sell it. And suddenly, if the trail is there and creates connectivity, wait a minute, maybe we don't want to sell this 5 or 10 acre place. That could be a trailhead. That could be a park. And I'm not just speaking in, just ideas. That happened on several pieces in Sarasota County along the Legacy Trail that we had up for sale that we didn't know what to do with it because it was isolated. But wait a minute, here's a trail and there's hundreds of thousands of users. There are now playgrounds and big parks that have those types of open spaces. So that is part of the planning.
And I can add to that I'm chair of the Hillsborough County Greenways and Trails Committee, and we do work with ELAP, our Environmental Lands Program. And the touchy thing can be you don't want to trail right through the environmentally sensitive land, but it could be adjacent to it. Another thing too, and I'll mention, Charles, is the Trust for Public Land helped us with our land, our ELAP, funding our land preservation program. So there are a lot of connections there.
I couldn't have said it better. Shall I share this real quick and we'll do 1 minute and 45? If that's okay, Mr. Chair?
Sure. Oh. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, I'm not Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you all able to hear and see?
Yes. There's no sound though.
Imagine a trail that connects over 400 miles along Florida's beautiful Gulf Coast. A place where walkers, runners, and cyclists can safely discover Southwest Florida like never before. This dream is becoming a reality with the Florida Gulf Coast Trail. When it's complete, this massive trail will weave through 7 stunning coastal counties, creating safer pathways for families and commuters. It will inspire healthy living, offer new ways to get around, and attract visitors from around the world, all while boosting local economies and connecting communities in ways we've never seen before. At Trust for Public Land, we've seen the power of trails to transform lives and neighborhoods. Trails like the Florida Gulf Coast Trail can become beloved places where people of all ages can stay active and experience the natural beauty that makes this region so special. Together, we can build this trail. Together, we'll connect millions of people to the joy, health, and freedom of outdoor spaces for today and for future generations. Let's make it happen.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully you guys recognize some of those places. And as we know, those are the ones that are done. And our goal here is to connect up a few more in the next couple years. So thanks, Wade, for sharing that.
And apologies for the audio. I could hear it fine on my end. But
It was kind of
I
dragging
could
a little
hear-
bit, but they got the point. You know, if you guys are interested, just YouTube it and then please share it with anyone that's a trail supporter.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have announcements. Would anyone like to share any updates, upcoming events, current issues, or projects with the committee? Going once, going twice. All right. So up next is other items. So topic ideas for future meetings, if anyone has any. Again, this committee meets when needed, and that depends on the ABCM members providing ideas for the agenda. Again, this can be anything from an upcoming project that could use some ABCM feedback, or proposed development that needs to be reviewed, or an emergent issue that could discuss and elevate to the full ABCM. If anyone has anything to share now, we can share it here, or again, you can always send it to Alana separately to include it in a future agenda. All right. And with that concludes our meeting. Thank you all for attending the meeting today. As a reminder, the full Agency on Bay and Coastal Management will be meeting on Thursday, December 11th. This will be an in-person expanded workshop to develop the agency's strategic plan. Lunch will be provided, and I hope to see you all there. At this time, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.